And let's talk about it right now. We are AT&T. I'm Courtney with Cowboys Nation.
What is up? We are here in Tag Nation. This wasn't planned. We were weren't planning on doing a live show, but there was some logistical issues. You see my boy Jimmy D. He's in parts unknown right now. He's in an undisclosed location. So we figured this is the only way we know how to work it because our producer, he's off as well. So I'm running the ship. So the only way I know how to do this thing is to do it live. So before we get started, make sure you guys subscribe, like, share. We're on Facebook now, too. We got a Facebook page, Tag Nation. You guys can always check us up on there. Follow us. We got a lot of good content there. And we'll get this thing rolling. Jimmy, what you want to tell people where you're at? Or are you going to keep it undisclosed?
No, we're at an undisclosed location. And let's just make this clear. For our producer, Dom, this is an unpaid vacation for him. Okay, well, let's make that clear. So he's doc pay this week, and, he'll have to make up for it next week.
You tell me he's not in the union?
It's not a union job. Nope.
Well,
and he's not getting benefits.
Well, this worked out actually to the benefit, because if you read our description of the show, you saw Cowboys sign their own, and we did sign our own, and then we had a little thing happen, a little mishap, if you will, happen today where Dallas Cowboys appeared and put it on on their website that they signed Randy Gregory, only to fall for the banana in the tailpipe and get the rug pulled from under him. And now he's with the Broncos, who people who follow me and know my brother's side of the family are Bronco fans. So then I had to hear his mouth, him breaking the news to me, telling me all this garbage about them getting Randy Gregory. I'm calling BS on it. Then I go on Twitter, and I guess it happened, and it's really strange. I don't know if you got a chance to get filled in on it. If not, I can. But it was just an odd scenario, to say the least.
Well, yeah. What was it? There was something in the contract that was standard contract writing that Gregory took it the wrong way, or his agent did, or. Yeah, that's what it boiled down to, right?
Basically, and there's conflicting reports. So Jane Slater, who's a great Cowboys insider, she said it's standard language on every contract except Dak's. She said she called around to different teams, and it's standard language in a lot of their contracts. Basically, if you get in trouble, get fined, whatever, by the NFL, they can withhold money. There's no secret. Randy Gregory's, he was suspended by the NFL 4 times. He's been with the Cowboys 6 years, and I think 2 or 3 of the years he didn't even play. This was the first season he played the most games, which I think he played 11 games this year. He had 6 sacks. That's the most he's had. So he hasn't been overly productive, but the talent's there. And I like Randy Gregory. It's nothing against him, but I can't really fault, if I'm being straight up, I can't fault the Cowboys for taking that position. Now, the opposite side, and this I'll get your take on, Jimmy, the other side of it says that the Cowboys agreed to terms, everything that Randy Gregory agreed to it. Then they decided to slide it in unbeknownst to him. Then they found out about it. He got pissed off. He left, and he went to Denver. So what would be your thought on that scenario, just to get another point of view?
Well, I mean, you're getting to a kind of a bait and switch, little smoke and mirrors, if you will. So if they did have an agreement in principle, and all of a sudden they're trying to put some language in there at the end, that's where there's a trust factor. And I get it. I'd be pissed off too. Just taking a look at Denver. When I know we're going to stick to the Cowboys, but again, we mentioned Denver trying to win on defense. He's going to be unpredictable. Is he going to play a whole season with them? You don't know. They're not. I said it last week, and I'll say it again. They're not going to win on offense, Denver. So, I hope this works out. Well, because of Danny, I hope it doesn't work out for them. But getting back to what you're saying, yeah, you can make a deal, a verbal agreement, and then slip some crap in, because that's a trust factor issue. I don't blame them.
Yeah, so that's what we don't know. So that's the $1 million question, and I don't know if we'll ever know. But I know Cowboys Nation and a lot of people, they're hitting Stephen Jones pretty hard about it. It was a big contract. I think we guaranteed 18 million. Denver came back with 28. I was okay with it. Am I crushed by it? No, it's just I'm looking around in my cave, and now I got Cooper jersey gone. I got Randy Gregory. I met him at the at one of the games last season, and now I got to take that down because the rule is if you're not a Cowboy, out of the cave you go. No matter how good were you. If you're good to me, it don't matter. Now, when you retire, if you deserve it, I'll bring you back to the cave. But right now, I've got a max exodus coming from the cave. So we'll see what happens. But let's go on to a couple other things. I don't want to, just get on Gregory too much. But again, my stance of it is it's unfortunate it happened. I think you just got to move on from it. I think the Cowboys are very good to him. He had a lot of issues. The Cowboys stuck by him. Jerry Jones extended his contract when he was suspended to give him a little pocket money because he didn't have much money, so they extended his deal out. They did some things that I thought were really nice. You'd hope that he would remember that, but it's a business. That's what I always say. I'm never going to talk about what people make. I could care less. If you're on the team, I'm all in when the season starts. But if it doesn't work out, it's no hard feelings. I wish him all the best. Except when he obviously plays the Cowboys, he's got to put a hurting on him.
Exactly. A lot of other news out of Cowboys Nation.
Yep. So we got, Gallup. So we talked a little bit about it. So Gallup re-signed 5-year, $82 million. It was a nice contract. I think it was a team-friendly contract. I know people, some people like that term, some people don't, but I think it worked out well for both sides. Obviously, they franchised Schultz, which I know some people, they were hot and cold on it. But hey, end of the day, he was Dak's safety blanket. And I think for the continuity, and I think, especially with trading away Cooper, I think you had to keep some of that, with the team. Malik Hooker signed, so we've got one of our safeties back. So hopefully he'll continue to progress in Dan Quinn's system. Tank did that's why I'm wearing a Tank jersey. He gets people love to hate him because whenever you sign a big contract, it seems in the Cowboys they decide to they extradite it and they don't like you no more. They put you out. You can never live up to your expectations. So with Tank, he redid his deal. He got basically it was a win-win. It was win for the team, win for him. He got his guaranteed money. The team got a lot of cap relief. Now I think they're like 28 million under the cap. So they've got some room to play with. They lose Cedric Wilson. So there's so much going on with Dallas. They lose Cedric Wilson to the Dolphins. They lose Connor Williams to the Dolphins. Connor Williams, all he did was get penalties. So that's not a big loss there. Cedric Wilson will be an interesting one because obviously with Gallup being not sure when he comes back, that's a receiver that made some nice plays for us.
Well, and he had, 500-600 yards receiving last year, Cedric Wilson?
Yeah,
roughly? Somewhere
in there. He filled in. Yeah. He was a 4, right? He was our 4 receiver, but with Gallup getting hurt, then it kind of opened up the doors for opportunities, and he made some clutch catches in some big games for us. So he'll be missed, but, if we're being honest, he can be replaced in the draft.
Okay. Yeah, so. Which is, you're right about that. You can, you get back to Schultz. He's young, like you said. He seems to be the safety valve, if you will. He fits in well in your offense. He's young. You don't want to lose him, right?
No.
Cedric Wilson, like you said, you can replace a WR4 in the draft.
Yeah,
or
he got a good contract. He got a good contract with the Dolphins. I mean, they could have, if they wanted to work it out, they probably could have. But I think that was, I didn't expect him to come back. So there's just been it's a lot of noise with Dallas. It's okay. What are we going to do now? The fans are getting restless. What can we get? Because you have to replace Randy Gregory. So when he was in there, he was productive. There's no doubt about it. He was productive. The availability always, that was his Achilles heel. So, now you're hearing Von Miller, heavy interest, and it's interest on both sides, right? He lives in Dallas, went to A&M. He probably was a Cowboys fan when he grew up. Hopefully he was. And so there's some mutual interest there. If you get that for Cowboy fans, let us know. Does that make you feel better about Gregory, moving on to Denver? Does that make you feel better? And Bobby Wagner, that's another one that's a hot name. They say he's not number 1 on Dallas's list, or Dallas isn't number one on his list. We're kind of that second tier. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. If you can get Miller, because they have the money to do what they want to. If they got Miller, Wagner, now Parsons is, I mean, you're putting him everywhere. You're putting him everywhere.
Well, and that gets back to what you're saying, him being versatile, Parsons, right? And Von Miller, like you said, he's got his ring, right? He's good to go. So home coming back to Dallas might be the right route for him if they're willing to give him the Scarroll.
Yes. And here's the thing I'll say, and again, Cowboys Nation, definitely comment. I'd love to hear your opinion on it. You could get a lot of these guys, and I know the free agency, and we all want to sign all these, everyone, you go crazy, you want to sign these guys. I'm looking for the certain guys. And what's missing from this team is championship leadership. So when I look at, Von Miller and I look at Bobby Wagner, they've been there. They've held up the trophy. They know what it takes. They get instant credibility. They're leaders on their teams. And I think if there's something missing from the Cowboys team, it's that. So if you got to pay a little extra for Wagner, if you got to pay a little extra, for Von Miller, for me, my opinion is I would be good with it, because I think what they can bring to the locker room, bring to the field, and give us that swag, give us that, that championship mentality. That's something that this team really doesn't have.
Well, and like you said, it's the locker room, the presence, the hype, and, let's say there is a stumbling block in the middle of the season, even in the middle of the game at halftime, they're in the locker room getting in everybody's ear. Hey, look, we've been there, we've done that. Here's what we're going to do, and more hype and like you said, leadership. Yeah.
And it's interesting, and you got Tyrann Mathieu. That's another name that's been floated out there, the safety. So, if you were to bring a guy like him in, again, championship pedigree, he's been there, done that, instant credibility to the team as a leader. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But you and I talked about it before the show, and you made that comment. The interesting thing that you're seeing with the Cowboys is we're talking about all defense. It's like almost the shift. With Dan Quinn coming back in the quarter is to be more of a defensive-minded team and invest more in the defense. And, I think it could pay off. I'm not, as an outsider, what's your thoughts on it?
I miss Dan Quinn in Atlanta. Again, when we lost our Super Bowl, I blame it squarely on the offensive coordinator. We've talked about that 100 times. He recruited defense as well. I think he's a great defensive mind, and if anybody's going to do it, he's one of the guys who could pull that off, right? So you got if you have Dak playing reasonably well, and the offense playing reasonably well, and I know you have questions about your coordinator, and obviously there's a lot of things happening here in the offseason. I think that he's a guy who can pull it off.
Yeah, and that's where, if they're making this investment in defense, when I look at the draft. And we're going to get a draft, what I call a draft expert. He's a friend of mine, and the man breaks down film and draft like no other. And that would be Jay Tuck. We're going to get him on to talk a little bit about the draft and kind of educate us and educate the Cowboys Nation and fans. We're going to go broad. It won't just be Cowboys. We're going to look at it from a broad point of view. I think what Dallas is going to end up doing is they're going to have to retool. I don't want to say reload, because the offense still has their weapons. It's you're gonna kind of reload a little bit, add a few pieces, retool that line, get things a little bit going, a little bit better, because we lose Connor Williams, but I don't think you're losing much. Lyle Collins, I didn't touch on him, but it looks like he's either going to get traded or released. And it's like I said before on a previous show, it's amazing. The guy was hurt all 2020, he didn't come in prepared. 2021, he gets suspended for some, PEDs or whatever happened. He gets outplayed by Terrence Steele. They end up giving him the job back. They rotate, which I thought was a big disaster. I think they should have just stuck with Steele. Go with the hot hand. The team was rolling. The offense was rolling. But now there's a big outcry that, we're having this big loss. I don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong for the price tag. I wish they could get value. I wish they could get something for him. I think if there's a mistake that the organization and management makes is they talk too much, with Murray Cooper, they talk too much. They put bad things out, or they say negative things, and Lyle Collins is the same thing. And if I'm a team, I'm like, I'm not going to give them. They're going to end up releasing them. They're not even happy with them. So why would I give a value pick to trade for one of their guys?
You can't air the dirty laundry. Got to keep that in-house, man.
That's
Right?
101, man. I don't know why,
Exactly.
the Joneses just can't figure that out, but they can't help themselves. They can't shut up. I mean, they're on the radio, all the time. And I love Jerry. His stories, I mean, there's nothing better than a Jerry Jones story because he'll get off on a tangent. But yeah, I think he means well, but they just can't help themselves. And I wish they just keep it down a little bit. So, in Cowboys Nation, I know there's a lot of people, they're frustrated. They're uneasy. And, I'm going to have my work cut out. I already see these hype videos coming up. I'm going to have my work cut out to get these guys pumped up. But what I say is just relax, let things play out, see what happens. Remember the 3 C's: cool, calm, collected. Let the draft play out. And then after all of that, if we've lost all these guys and we haven't replaced them with anything quality to give us an upgrade and make this team better, then you guys can come all yell at me. Let me know, say I told you so. But for now, what we had didn't work last year. So we've got to make changes. They've talked about penalties. We were most penalized team. Well, Randy Gregory was one of those guys. I mean, it was critical penalties at critical times. Think of the playoffs. Think of the other times. So that was one of the problems. So if you're trying to reduce your penalties, well, they kind of helped us out there. Then you got right. Connor Williams. Now everyone is happy he's gone. I'm not sure there's a Cowboys fan that is upset that he's gone, but he was heavily penalized player at critical times. Another one. So if you're trying to say, okay, how can we change this culture, reducing penalties and getting things going? Well, 2 of them are gone. So maybe it won't be the worst thing. Let things play out and see what happens.
And I get a kick out of all the Cowboys stuff on Twitter and all the people. I know that's a subject for next week, but it's great. I enjoy it. It's comical to me, right?
Well,
there's so many.
Go
ahead.
No, I was going to ask you a question because this intrigues me is as an outsider. So you're sucked into Cowboys Nation because you and I we're best friends. We grew up together, and then I kind of threw you into this mix and say, hey, we've always talked about it. Let's do a show, have some fun, talk football. But it's probably going to be a lot of Cowboys because that's kind of what I'm passionate about and what I do. So you're that outsider looking in, and you see it. What is your view of the Cowboys and Cowboys Nation?
Well, I liken it to living in New York and being a Yankees fan. Now, it isn't the same kind of drama and crap we had, back in the day, but it's just when it's something every day. I mean, back then, obviously, social media wasn't that big when Steinbrenner was around, but, in the papers every day, and people bitching every day. And a while just takes its toll on you, right? We know opinions are like, a-holes. Everybody's got one, right? And that's fine. And I respect everybody's opinions, but it's just amazing the wide array of crap. Like you said, you dumped guys who were penalty ridden, and they cost you guys so many yards and plays, and you got rid of them, and people are still pissed off.
Well, I think that's what you love about Cowboys Nation, Cowboys fans, is the passion. And I think it likens a lot to the Yankees. When I go to the games, if Tampa's playing, Yankees, those fans, they come out. It's the only allowed. It's the only time that there's a lot of people in the stash and there's a lot of pride. And I think with Cowboys Nation, there's a lot of pride. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of, disappointment. We're talking 26 years. And I get text messages all the time when the Randy Gregory happened. Buddy of mine texts me, oh, everyone's leaving. He didn't even want to. He wants to win. He bailed on Dallas. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. Maybe he did. I don't know. I mean, whatever. But it's just constant. And so people wonder why, God, Mike, why you get so angry or you get passionate, you get loud, because you hear it all the time. And that's why I always say is when the time comes and they're going to win one, when they win that Super Bowl, you better look out because the whole social media universe, this whole thing is going to come down because it's going to be on, and you better believe my mouth will be going and it won't stop. And I remember everything everyone said and all the tweets and all the messages and all the crap they talked about me. So it will be on. And to Danny, they will sign, Von Miller. I think he is. And the funny thing to that, not the sidetrack, is a few years ago, my son and I went to the Pro Bowl and when it was in Orlando, and we were, he was trying to get autographs, and he had his Cowboys hat on, and we couldn't, Zeke walked right past us, Amari walked right past us, Von Miller was signing, and so I looked at my son and said, man, he might be a Cowboy someday, get that hat signed, and I got it in the closet. I'm just waiting. As soon as he signs, I'll throw it out here. If he signs, I'll put it in the cave, but Von Miller signed his Cowboys hat, so I told him, I said, man, hold on to it, because he might be there. He might be there someday. So I'm hoping he signs. It's, sometimes it always comes down to Skadal, but I like I said, I think if you overpay for him, I wouldn't have a big problem with it because of the leadership and the championship pedigree he could bring.
So it's good. You were prepared, have a vision, look in the future, kept the hat, and you know what? You might see that in the next few days. You never know.
It'll be the first Cowboys autograph he signed. It's about 4 years old, but it's there. I just got to clean up the hat a little bit because my son was wearing it, and it was when it was at the Pro Bowl that it was raining like hell. So, but it was cool. So there's that's my message to Cowboys fan. We'll move on to some other stuff because if you guys want to feel good about yourself and you need a pick me up, this is the part we're going to transition around the NFL, and I want to start with the Atlanta Falcons since Jimmy's a resident expert and. They've made some big moves, huh? You guys are shaking things up, trying to make that run to move up the ladder in the South Division.
We re-signed Seyoung Koo, our kicker, to a 5-year deal. Big news, right? And we signed. Okay. So the one thing we did, Jake Matthews, so blindside tackle for Matt Ryan, we re-signed him. That's all we've done. We lost our best linebacker to the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? We've done nothing. We lost Russell Gage, who basically at this point in time was our wide receiver 2. He went to Tampa, so he's in the division. So we freed up some cap space, right? Matt Ryan restructured yet again, right? So we're going to continue to push the credit line out and keep doing that, which is absurd, which begs the question. The Desean Watson situation.
Now that's the hot news, right? So now he's talking about you got a comment that your kicker was the only one scoring points, so he might be valuable for you. So
he might be valuable. Oh, somebody commented on that? Is it anybody I know?
Danny commented that, and then he said he should be getting the QB money for your team. But anyway, talking about Desean Watson, so that could be a game changer, right? So for me, he is a top quarterback, young guy. He got in. Obviously, I'll let you touch on the trouble he's gotten into, but that might be a wild card for you guys. He's a hometown, right? He's from Georgia. It could be a good story. So what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on that?
So the irony being that he's interviewing with us and the Saints and the Panthers. I do have some reservations, and we don't have the same drama and chaos that Cowboys Nation does on social media and Twitter. But a lot of people have commented he's had 22 allegations against him. Okay. Now I'm not going to say whether they're right or wrong, but I'm going to say odds are 22. I have trouble believing that there's 22 separate women who are lying. And the problem is, let's say he gets off legally, right? And I really hope that the guys in it.
The DA said they weren't pursuing
on all charges.
Yep, okay. They weren't pursuing any charges against him. So now everything is civil. It's all civil suits. Okay. So he's got 22 or 23 civil suits that are going to be put against him.
And then that falls into the hands of the NFL, right? They can, suspend anybody at their will with any kind of, allegations or accusations. And this from, Zeke got what, 6 or
6 games for a college accusation that turned out to be untrue and it was investigated on several levels, and there was nothing that he could be found guilty of, and he still got 6 games.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what scares me a little bit. So I've heard, okay, is he going to be the heir apparent to Ryan? Or if let's say he does end up on the Falcons, does Ryan get traded to the Colts? How does that look, right? And again, you get back to leadership, right? We didn't bring the hardware home 4 years ago, but Matt Ryan is leadership. He's there. And I know he catches a lot of heat from Falcons fans, and they're cynical and they want to blame him for everything, and I don't get it. But he has leadership, just like Grady Jarrett, another one of our defensive linemen. he brings leadership, and he's another one who's at risk because of his cap. I don't know what's going to happen with him.
Yeah. Well, I think with Ryan, there's no way they'd keep both of them. There's that never happened. I think if they decided to pull this, pull the trigger on a deal, I think they'd have to bring another team in. I think the Colts, like you said, would be a perfect landing spot for Matt Ryan because they got a win now team that just doesn't have a quarterback. They've got an offensive line. I think what could help maybe the Falcons is getting Watson, his ability to move around. The line isn't that good. He can maybe buy himself some time. So it would be an interesting trade. I don't know how much they'd give up, and that's the thing. The asking price seems so high, and I know it's that franchise quarterback, so that's what they're going to demand. But if I'm a team, I just don't know if I can give it up. I don't know if I can give up all those first round picks and everything they want. I just don't see it.
It's giving up all that, and it's on a risk. You're taking a big risk that he might be suspended. Right? Yeah. Then we're really screwed.
Yeah, because I don't know if the Falcons aren't a win now team. I think there's some pieces that they need. The draft is critical for them. So if you give away all your draft capital to get Watson, all right, well you got him. You gotta, he's not Superman. He's not gonna be able to do it by himself. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think he's going there Wednesday, so he'll be there tomorrow. Yeah. So I think he was at Cleveland today, maybe. So.
And I don't want, and I'm looking back a long time, I don't want a situation where, so we had Mike Vick and we had Matt Schaub. We traded away Matt Schaub to the Texans, and then a few months later, stuff went down with Vick. I don't even remember who we ended up with. I
think it was the Florida quarterback. His name escapes me, but I think it was the Florida quarterback.
Yeah.
University of Florida.
Played with Detroit and Florida. He played with Detroit and
yeah. But it was bad. Put it that way.
It was horrible. It was terrible. So that's my stance on that. It's very risky. Like you said, giving up the draft picks and also what may happen throughout the season. So right now we're a disaster. Well, if I had to sum it up, I'm going to sum it up, and a lot of my friends and yourself will know where I'm coming from with this. No, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair. I can't believe it.
Well, we'll see what happens.
I
think they're gonna have to come it up quick. So we'll move on. And one of the interesting things is the Brady situation. And I think this is something we wanted to definitely touch on. So now he's back. I don't know, being at home with the wife and babies, if that kind of drove him away. It was a funny story. Michael Irvin was, he was talking on the radio, and and he retired. Life hit him as he's just a regular guy now. His wife he gets up in the morning. His wife tells him to take out the trash, and he's thinking, I'm a 3-time Super Bowl champion here. What am I doing taking out the trash? So I don't know if that maybe was it. You have a different take in what we were talking about. I thought maybe he just wasn't ready. But what's your perception of Brady and his decision to come back?
Well, I'm looking at it one of two ways. I'm looking at it, A, he's an attention whore, all right? He did it right on the eve of free agency. So was that a coincidence or not? Okay, so that could be it. Or it could have been he's the recruiter. Hey, guess what, guys? I'm coming out of free agency. It starts tomorrow. Think about coming here. And that's what it could be too. I don't know which one it is. It's not a coincidence that happened at 4:00 the day before free agency. You can start talking free agency. So that's my take on it.
No, and you could be right, because it was, the Buccaneers made zero moves to get a quarterback. They weren't interested in any of the quarterbacks. And then it comes out right at free agency. Now they get a couple guys. They got, their cornerback. He signed a pretty favorable contract. A lot of people thought he'd definitely be gone. I think he signed like a 3-year, $45 million contract, something like that. So there's definitely that the Brady factor, like no other, does play a part in free agency, because people want to play for him. I mean, he's a winner. Whether you like him or you hate him, whatever, you got to respect him. And the guy wins. And I think, does this change the balance of power? We talked about last week that the NFC is wide open. The AFC seems to be is getting pretty stacked. I mean, you can just look at that. I mean, the AFC West alone, with those 4 quarterbacks and what they got, that's going to be a dogfight just to even get out of that division. Where the NFC, you got the Rams, defending champs. You got to give them respect. If the Packers got Rodgers, they're always going to be there. San Francisco, you're unsure what's going to happen with the quarterback. Arizona, they've got a lot. They've got a lot of issues. You go over to the East, the Cowboys. I mean, people can hate them all they want, but they were still 12-5. They still ran through their division. I still think they've got the best quarterback in the division. And if you look around the landscape of the league, all the best quarterbacks in each division won the division title. So it's still a quarterback-driven league. And so I still think you got about 3 or 4 teams, and you can throw them in a hat. You can throw a couple wild cards in there. If Philly makes a few moves, gets a good draft, Jalen Hurts takes another step, maybe he's there. If the Falcons, maybe something happens with them. Maybe they take a step. Carolina's in that mix with Watson possibly. They could take a step. So there's a lot of different things that can go on in the NFC, and it wouldn't surprise me. So do you think this now, obviously, does this put the Buccaneers at the top of the list, or you think they're a notch below the Rams or the Packers or both?
Well, I mean, they got Godwin and Evans, so they have good receivers. They took Russell Gage from us, who's a great wide receiver 3. They did lose. They lost Kappa to the Bengals, one of their offensive linemen, and I think somebody else retired.
I think their guard retired, and then they just traded for someone from the Patriots, but I don't know if he's a backup or starter. Got like a 5th round pick for him.
I don't know. It's tough to tell. I don't think they're the powerhouse that everybody anticipates them to be. I mean, we lost to them last year twice, so I can't really talk a whole lot of crap. But I just don't, despite the fact that they have the 2 receivers, I'm shocked Brady came back. I think he went out in the playoffs, and there's a good chance, like you said, with the NFC, he might not make the playoffs. Let's say the Falcons happen to make a run. Let's say we're lucky and that happens. Is he really going to does he want to go out, not even making the playoffs?
I think they're going to be. I'd be hard pressed to think he wouldn't make. I'd be floored if he didn't make the playoffs. The only thing I'm happy about is that he has to come to Dallas, and this is our final chance to take care of Brady. Just slap him around, maybe knock his ass out or something like that, because he's had our number. I think he's 6-0 against us or something like that. So I wanted him to come back because I want a piece of him at AT&T, because I'll make sure I'm there. If I don't like it, I'll get down to the field and I'll get these boys ready if McCarthy doesn't, because that's a game that's going to be circled on the calendar. I don't care. I want Brady, and plus living in Tampa, it's time to shut these fans up because I had to hear it since week 1 of last season. So
let me ask you. So with the Bucs now, we know that those season ticket sales went down a lot.
Oh, I got one. Yeah.
Now all of a sudden they must be picking up today.
So they because one of the guys I work with has season tickets, and then my brother was going to get season tickets just for when Brady was still going as an investment, and/or they got a really good home schedule, so he thought, man, he'd see some good quarterbacks, and he figured it'd be Brady's last year and this and that. So he was all set for the tickets and this and that. And when Brady announced he came back, they cut everybody off. No season tickets. You couldn't add any, so they couldn't add any more tickets. So he couldn't get season tickets. And it makes you wonder: is it and it'd be smart. So I'm not gonna hate on him. But is the team looking at it as an opportunity? Don't give the season tickets. Put these out on the market, because they're going to make more money on the secondary market selling them, which, hey, I wouldn't hate on them. I mean, if they can do that, definitely do it. But, yeah, it was interesting to see the quick turn on the season tickets when that happened.
It's business. I mean, now the funny part is I can only envision Danny out there. Hey, tickets, got 2 tickets. Buying tickets.
But you say that, it's crazy. I never thought about it, but when I go to AT&T, I'm still old school. I remember all the guys on I need 2 tickets, selling 2 tickets, the whole scam they always did. And you don't do that anymore because everything's paperless. That's the one thing I never thought about when everything went paperless. You look around and there's no scalpers anymore. It's not like the old days.
No, the funny part was, and this is not on football topic, but on the ticket topic. A few years ago, I was dragged to a Mets game, and I'm no Mets fan, but we went to the game, and some dude was out there scalping. The cop ran up, bam, had him in handcuffs, like right next to me. Hey, let me hide my beer that I'm walking outside with right now.
No, those were the good old days of it. So, but yeah, it's a lot. With free agency, it gets the season started, it gets the blood flowing, it gets you in that football mind. This thing will happen, and then the draft will be coming up soon. I know we got a comment about Randy Gregory. We did touch on it. That was the first thing we talked about. So definitely hit the rewind button and check it out, and let us know your opinion on it as well. We'd love to hear it. But with the Cowboys, they just gotta, the fans gotta just relax. But the Cowboys organization and front office, they've got to start handling things a certain way. And it just, it's a family business. And I'll say it's run like a family business. There's a lot of emotion. There's some knee-jerk stuff that they probably do. And I'll always, I'll go to my grave saying it, is that Jerry Jones is probably one of the best owners. He's one of my favorite owners. I wish he would just be the owner. I know that's never going to happen. He's always going to be the GM. And people want to knock him, and I understand it. But if you look at this team, and Jimmy, I'll ask you to correct me if I'm wrong, last 10 years, so you're going back to 2012, 2014, just go back to 2014, they've had a talented roster. The talent hasn't been the problem on this team. The talent is there. Their playoff success is not, it's not on ownership having the lack of talent. I think there could be something, with some of the coaching decisions, and so, hanging on to certain coaches too long. Yeah. I think McCarthy needs to get his opportunity. I'm not going to give up on him yet, but some of the mindset and that mentality that you have being a Cowboy, sometimes the glitz and the glam is more important than on the field. And I felt that this was changing, and I still believe it is. I think with this team, that mentality is changing, and they got some adversity, right? They get, they lose a tough game against the 49ers in the playoffs, and and Dak did not play well for the 3 quarters of the game, and then he started to come on late. But I think they learned from that, and I think the core is going to be back. If you got Micah Parsons and you got Tank, and you're gonna have Diggs, and you've got the rest of the young guys on defense, Jabril Cox coming back, you're gonna have we're gonna get some. They're going to get better. They got that taste in their mouth, and I think with Quinn, he's going to get them fired up and hungry to do something. Now, on the offensive side, it's on Dak Prescott to take that step, to be the leader, which he is. I think he's a great leader, but he's got to elevate his game up now. And he's always started slow and then finished strong. He's got to be able to get up there hot from the beginning and just take it to another level, because the talent's there for this team. So it's hard for me to kill the owners for the past 10 years. I think we got to hold these players accountable for not getting it done.
Take it to the other level of the game, right? Now, getting back to what you're saying about, family business, remember what Vito Corleone said to Sonny? He said, the comedy act, you're playing with this girl. Never tell anybody outside the family what you're thinking again. And that is the problem. They air all the dirty laundry, right? You just need to turn the dial down and keep that in-house, man, because that's what stirs everybody up. That's what stirs the fan base up. It almost seems like it's on purpose sometimes.
No, they do. And Jerry's very calculated. And Jorge, what's up? You're new to the channel. Just want to give you a shout out. I appreciate it.
What's up, Jorge?
Keep tuning in. We're going to be, I'll be always about Cowboys. So if you're a Cowboys fan, this is a spot for you. But with Jerry Jones, and he's always said, any publicity is great publicity, negative, positive, whatever it is. As long as they're out there, that's why, he'll do some crazy decisions during Super Bowl week to get some attention to him, or he'll do that. And it's fun. Like, some of the stuff is fun for fans, but if you want to win championships and you want to get it, it's got to be business. You got to be business in football, and he's got to be able to separate. And that's the trouble when you're the owner and you're the GM. You can't really set. There's no buffer. You got to have a buffer. His heart's in it. Is that so he takes things personal. Where the GM, it's business. So that's the part. But it's never going to change. So I can bitch about it all day long, but it's never going to change.
Like Willie Cheech told Congress, "Hey, yeah, Senate, there's a lot of buffers, right?" So, I did want to touch base on two other topics. First one, I'm just going to be point blank about this, and we're not even going to discuss it. The Chicago Bears are going to be garbage this year. The Chicago Bears are going to suck. That's all I have to say about that. And all you Bears fans, you can just, go home and whine, and you got nothing to look forward to this season. Next up, We're talking about Devonte Adams. What are your thoughts on that? Because we're talking about the NFC and what could be happening there. We talked about in the past, with Green Bay, they never really go far in the playoffs, right? Rodgers is not the big guy in the playoffs, if you will. What do you think about Devonte and that whole situation?
Well, now, right? So he comes out, they franchise him, which you figured they weren't going to let him go, and then now they franchise him, and he doesn't want to play for the franchise tag, and so he's, let's see if he holds his ground. I mean, they all say it, but there's certain things that happen if you don't. There's ramifications where you can end up getting tagged again. So I think he'd have to show up like week 9 or something like that, whatever it is. And will he hold out? He wants $30+ million. So I think that's where it's gonna the line could be drawn in the sand. That's a big number for a receiver. He's a great receiver. He's probably I think you'd probably have to say he's the number 1 receiver in the NFL. So he should be paid number 1 money. And if you look at the tag, he's at like 18 million. And then I see Christian Kirk, this year's at 18 million. He's just around the same. He might have a point. But if you're paying Rodgers 50 million and and they're already 22 over the cap, I don't know what they can do. I don't know if they're going to be able to maneuver enough things to get under there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Well, and there again, that's where ego gets involved too, right? And I think he's got a point. If Rodgers making that kind of money, you say Chris Kirk's making that kind of money, I can see where the ego would come in. And also, I mean, he would deserve it based on those figures that those guys are getting, right?
Yeah. No. I mean, if you look at
a principle.
Yeah. No, if you look at it, I mean, he deserves it. And I mean, you've got guys in the 20s, Coop's in the 20, and he's head and shoulders above Amari Cooper at a receiver. So if Coop's at 20, I mean, he should be mid-20s at worst. So he definitely has a gripe. I don't know if they're going to be able to work out a long-term deal because, the whole Rodgers contract, I don't know how that's going to work. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, or are they going to have to dump some salary because, I think Devonte Adams, I mean, he's seeing it. And let's be honest, your quarterback, your receivers, they need the quarterback, right? I mean, there's very few receivers that put up these huge numbers with crappy quarterbacks. They usually go hand in hand. And sometimes you see these receivers. That's why it'll be interesting to see what happens with Cooper in Cleveland. I think he's at a terrible spot. I love Coop. And I think it's probably the worst case scenario for him if that team is where it's at. I think he's going to have some trouble. So if his production goes down, does that make him a bad receiver, or is it a bad situation? And that's where, again, with Cooper, leaving, it was unfortunate. But if you look at the production that he was getting in this offense, did that warrant $20 million? When they had an opportunity, they structured the contract, and it was, you got to give them credit, is they had an out clause to where they can walk away at relatively little impact. And that was one of the problems, again, with the trade, is if these teams are taking on this salary, you're bitching that, all you can get is a 5 for them. I don't know what more you're going to get. You might have got a 4, maybe maybe you could have got a 3 if Dallas kept their mouth shut, but we know that's not going to happen. So in reality, you're not going to get a lot for them because they see that contract and they're going to be carrying it. So it's it's going to be interesting to see all these receivers, because it's become, right, the receivers are the dominant ones, the running backs. If any of you guys have kids in school that play football and they're a running back, I would highly suggest that you switch their position to either a edge rusher, a wide receiver, or a cornerback, or a quarterback if he could throw. But if he could throw, he'd probably already be a quarterback. So you're cornerback, edge rusher, or receiver, because that's where all the money. I mean, if you look at the rosters and look at people where they're getting paid, that's pretty much where all the money's going. Yeah,
outrageous amounts of money. It's amazing when they, with the TV deals and stuff, the kinds of money that they can pay out. It's unbelievable. Rewind to, we're talking about Rod Martin a couple of weeks ago. I mean, they couldn't even fathom, even inflation adjusted, the kind of money these guys are making now. And God bless them. Hey, they worked their asses off. They got to the show, and they worked hard and they sacrificed, and they deserve every penny they can get.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So. But we wanted it. We weren't planning on going live. So if you're new to the show, definitely check us out. Continue, subscribe. I appreciate it. Obviously Jimmy appreciates it as well, right? You appreciate it, don't you?
You know what? Appreciate everybody out there. We owe it to our public to give you the best show we can, and we appreciate you watching and all the comments and especially the positive comments.
Yeah.
If you want to get negative comments,
the Cowboy ones I love. The ones from Danny, we know where he's going, so he's just trying to give you a hard time. So that goes with the family, but no.
You got the beer muscles, right?
If you haven't checked out, we had a great interview with Rod Martin. He was an NFL legend, played with the Raiders, 2-time Super Bowl champion. Go back and check that out. His stories were phenomenal. He was a great guest. And I don't know if we could top it. I don't know if we'll be able to top it next week, but I think we might, because for Cowboy fans, we're going to have a very special guest. That was going to kick off our official live show. We had to do this live, obviously, because I told you Jimmy D's traveling. I'm manning the ship, and I'm not good at this technology, so this is the only way I know how to do it. So I told Jimmy, you better jump on because I got to go live, and I don't want to be on here by myself. So we're going to be live next week with a very special guest, big Cowboys fan. He's a good friend of mine, and it's something we're going to debate some Cowboys. So Jimmy's going to be the moderator. He's going to be one, making sure everything is going well and asking the tough questions, keeping everything down the middle. We agree on a lot of stuff, but I'm sure our guests and I will have different points of view. And I love the points of view. That's why I say comment. Reach out to me on Twitter. I love interacting with the fans. Jimmy D, make sure you guys follow him on Twitter. We got to get them numbers up. We got to get him going. Like I said, we're going to convert him to a Cowboys fan. Sooner or later, he's going to be converted. So I don't have anything else to say, Jimmy. I don't know if you do, but have a great vacation if you don't.
No, I appreciate it. No, man, we'll catch up again next week. And thanks everybody for watching, and take us home, bro.
All right, brother. You guys take care. I'm going to change up a little bit because I'll mess it up. But you guys have a great week. Have a great weekend. And we will see you Monday night live in the Cowboys cave. I got to do some rearranging because we keep losing people. You know what I told you earlier. If you're not on a team, you're out the door.